workplace, awesome to talk hunting. Anywhere out of the workplace, everybody's like, looks at me like I've got a third eye or something. They're like, what are you talking about? And I explained to him, I was like, yeah, we beat the bear. And he's like, oh, I didn't know that. So I was kind of like, hey, got a hater, I'm doing something right. It was like one of those things, your heart just sinks down into your stomach. And I was super bummed. He glasses up to the left of us and he goes, Justus, there's a bear. I was like, what? And he's like, come down here, there's a bear. I'm going into my senior year of high school, so I was like, this is like really the last archery season that I get to hunt really, really hard.
Y'all ready for your dose of flyover state spirit? Straight from the concrete jungle? Well, put down your latte and pull on your boots. It's time for Living Country in the City.
Hey y'all, welcome to episode 107 of Living Country in the City. Before we get started, I want to say a big thank you to Sawyer Products for their continual support of the podcast. I would not be able to do this without their support. Y'all make sure you head on over to sawyer.com/Lyme-disease. Check out all the awesome video and infographics on how you can keep yourself and your family safe from ticks and Lyme disease this summer. Also, y'all, I know I've been saying it for several weeks now, but it is still coming. Living Country in the City will be rebranding into the Wild Initiative, so keep an eye out for that. I've got some really exciting stuff that's going to be happening along with that launch. So you'll all want to be subscribed, you'll want to be following me on Instagram, and y'all will also definitely want to be checking out my Patreon page. There will be some extra special rewards for Patreon supporters with this rebrand, so y'all head on over to livingcountryinthecity.com/support. Check out all of the support options available to become part of the Living Country in the City family as well. You can scroll down there and there's a link to my Patreon page where you can contribute even as little as $1 a month. Y'all, that is $12 a year, less than 2 cups of coffee, and there are some awesome rewards associated with that. So y'all check that out at livingcountryinthecity.com/support. All right, y'all, on to today's episode. On my way to Wichita, Kansas for the Professional Outdoor Media Association conference, I made a little stopover in Denver, Colorado, went to No Limits Archery, and did some shooting with my good buddy Justus Neilsen. I've known Justus for a few years now, and guys, Justus is an awesome hunter. He's got some really cool stories to tell y'all. So I sat down with him and we had a good time just chatting about hunting. So hope y'all enjoy episode 107 with Justus Neilsen. Well, here we are. I am exhausted after driving 8 hours, and then we went and tried to fling a little bit of carbon in the wind, and that kind of sucked.
Heck yeah, the wind messes with you.
But yeah, I'm back upstairs again at No Limits Archery in Colorado.
And only.
The one and only. But different guest this time. I have Mr. Justus Neilsen.
Yep.
Had a moment. I forgot your last name for a second. At least I got it right. Here with Mr. Justus Neilsen on the podcast. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it for sure. It's gonna be a good chat.
So, always like to start out with what got you started in like hunting, the outdoors. How did you get going in all of this?
So my dad has always hunted, but he's always been a rifle hunter. And like honestly, since I can remember, I had wanted to go hunting with my dad, and the first hunt that I can really remember with him, I was 5, and he had a deer tag, and I went on a deer hunt with him. He shot just a little 4-corn buck, and as soon as that happened, I was like, this is something that I need to do. And then as I got older, all I did was study like the regulation books and everything, and I could basically tell you every word front to back before I was even legally allowed to hunt, just because I was so excited about it. And I had buddies that hunted, and then I started seeing guys bow hunting, and I was like, okay, that seems pretty cool. And now pretty much all I do is bow hunt. I don't have a single rifle tag this year. I'm gonna have 4 or 5 more hunts this year, and every single one of them is an archery tag. And I mean, it's just my dad is really what got me started into hunting, though.
So does he bow hunt at all?
He does not. I try to talk him into it, and he's like, no, why would I want to get that close to something when I can shoot it with a gun? And, I mean, everybody's got their own, their own cup of tea, but I try to talk him into it, but he's not about it.
So I was trying to remember when we met. Was it a Total Archery Challenge when we originally met?
I think so. That was
2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, 2017 at Snowbird, I'm pretty sure. Because
Yeah.
I'd followed you. I've probably followed you since, 2014, 2015. Or whenever you got the page started up on Instagram. And then I'm pretty sure it was at that Total Archery Challenge that we met.
Yeah, I was trying to remember because I'd known you when I came down for the road trip. I already knew you, and we talked. But yeah, it must have been Total Archery Challenge, and that was before my was that? Yeah, that would have been before my first elk hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So that was still, I was ramping up.
Yep.
I was also shooting 300 spine arrows on a 40-pound bow because Bear sent me the wrong limbs, and
Heck
I didn't
yeah.
realize it. That's a whole different story. But yeah, man. Gosh, that seems like it's hard to believe that was only 2 years ago. It seems like
It feels like it's been a really long time. I was looking at the other day, I was looking at pictures from Total Archery Challenge, and I was like, dang, that's been a minute. And then I looked at the date stamp, and I was like, oh, it really has not been that long ago.
That's funny, man. I haven't gone the past couple of years, but I just remember I love those events. Like, the shooting's great, it's the training's awesome for being in those hunting situations, and putting yourself in somewhat stressful situations where you're expecting to break some carbon. And,
Yeah.
but man, the camaraderie and meeting everyone at those events, and it's just being around those like-minded people, especially for someone like me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a better situation now, but I was on cloud nine that whole time. My buddy was making fun of me because all my stories were like me just he's like, dude, you looked like you were like high on something. He's like, you were just like, man, everything's so amazing.
Dude, I feel you for sure. It's so I've only lived in the Denver area for probably just about 2 years now, and I moved from a smaller town, and everybody hunted in that town. So everybody was like-minded. I could talk to them about hunting and stuff. And since I've moved to Denver, it's I work at No Limits, so workplace, awesome to talk hunting. Anywhere out of the workplace, everybody's looks at me like I've got a third eye or something. They're like, what are you talking about? And so, it's a little different, and that's why I'm really, really grateful for the job that I have, because it keeps me sane in the Denver metro area.
That's one of the funny things about the job is when I'm at work, a few people at my work they put up with me talking about hunting. Majority of the people are either wholly offended by it and just do not want to hear it at all. So that's always been a tough thing, because something exciting will happen, or I'll be super pumped about something, or I've done something over the weekend, and people will be talking about their weekends, whatever, and I'll kind of I don't know. I have to be careful who I bring it up around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't try and play down what I do. I'm proud of hunting and all of that, and I try and be the best ambassador I can of that. But it's some people, it's just gonna turn into a fight, and you don't want that.
Yeah, man. I got my first Instagram hater the other day, and I was like, sweet. And but it was on the picture that I posted of me and my buddy Caleb. He shot a bear. It's probably been 2 weeks ago now, maybe even 3, up in Alaska. I went up there for a bear hunt. Got Caleb shot on video. Super cool. I didn't end up taking a bear home, but super fun trip. And this guy, he commented, and he was like, do you murder animals for fun? And I was like, well, I'm going to start off with 2 things. Number 1, that bear wasn't murdered. Number 2, it wasn't for fun, it was for food. Obviously, yes, hunting is a very fun thing, so I'm not just going to be like, oh no, I don't have any fun doing that, because I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
But I was like, and I explained to him, I was like, yeah, we eat the bear, and he's like, oh, I didn't know that. I was like, okay, well, don't come out and, say, oh, you're a murderer before you even know anything on the subject.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, Hey, gotta hate her. I'm doing something right.
Gonna come out guns blazing without knowing what's going on. I don't know. Bears are one of those things that just. It's definitely one of those animals that people get very, very sensitive about. Like,
yes, sir.
I feel like deer and elk and stuff. People are kind of expect you to hunt those. You know, It's always, even if they're opposed to hunting, they give you a bit more of a pass with that. But yeah, the second, something like a bear comes out. I mean, I've probably all heard it before, the hierarchy of animal offensiveness. When
Yep.
It's like, okay.
It kind of shocked me a little bit because, I mean, like, even, like, some kids that I knew from school and stuff, like, they text me, and I put a picture on my story that, it was kind of on the border. I had Caleb's bear, half of it in the pack, and the other half was just up on my shoulders because the hill that we were on was too steep to quarter that animal out. And so we just gutted it out right there and didn't post any pictures of that or anything. It was all clean. There was no blood. But I had half of that bear on my shoulders, and I took a picture. And Caleb took a picture of me, and I put that on my Instagram story. And I had like 6 or 7 kids that I knew from school. They were like, "You're disgusting." And I was like, why, when I post pictures of deer and elk that I've taken, am I totally fine? But I post a picture of a bear. Why is that any different? And people were like, "Oh, well, it's more normal to shoot deer." And I was like, just because it's more normal doesn't mean that it's like any more okay. Like, it's okay to harvest a bear.
Well, why is it more normal? Is it like what makes harvesting a deer more normal than harvesting a bear? Is it like I couldn't tell you. I could not give you. I mean, other than just saying like, okay, that's what everyone hunts in the movies.
Yeah.
Like in my and even as hunters, I think we get in that mindset a little bit to where there's like, okay, these are like the regular hunts, and then these are like the other hunts, kind of a thing. And I think it has to do with our conditioning. How what we were brought up with, and everyone's got a different story. And I imagine that there's people out there that think hunting deer is weird, and
I guarantee it.
Hunting bear is completely normal or something like that, just based on where they're from and what they grew up doing. But so tell me about this bear. A little more about the bear hunt.
Well, it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. I was gonna go to Alaska regardless, but we kind of decided. I was like, well, like we went fishing last year. I was like, let's go bear hunting this year because that's the only season that's open right now, and I'm trying to get more archery kills under my belt, and I was like, this will be a perfect opportunity for me, and I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for this, but the very first day that I got there. We basically dropped the stuff at the house and we just planned to go scouting. And I didn't have my tag yet. We were just going to, buy – it's like an over-the-counter tag here in Colorado. You just go down to Walmart, Bass Pro Shops, whatever, pick up your tag. And so we were going to do that. It would have taken us about an extra hour and a half to go get my tag. And I mean, everybody's going to say, oh, it doesn't get dark in Alaska. But we just planned to do a scouting trip that night. And I told Caleb, I was like, bring your bow just in case. And so I brought the camera, he brought the bow, and it's about a 3-mile hike with about, I want to say it was like 2,500 vertical feet of elevation gain. And so you get right to tree line. And we're sitting there glassing. We were glassing for probably 30, 45 minutes. And we were glassing the north-facing slope, which from all the other podcasts I've listened to is not conducive to spring black bear hunting. But on that hillside, we had found 5 moose, and we saw 4 brown bears. We were hunting over a giant lake, and there was 4 brown bears that came out onto the beach, and 2 of them were really, really big brown bears. And so, we were just having a good time glassing, and we decided about 9:30 we were going to pack up and get headed back so, we could come back early in the morning. And Caleb was like, I'm just going to walk down here just to the bottom of the point we were glassing from. I was like, okay. And by that time, it was probably like 9:45.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was already packing stuff up. We were not being quiet. And Caleb walks down, and he glasses up to the left of us, and he goes, Justus, there's a bear, there's a bear. I was like, what? And he's like, come down here, there's a bear. So I walked down, and I look over, and about 500 yards east of us, sure enough, there's a black bear just milling around, eating grass and everything. And I was like, well, freaking get your bow, let's go kill this thing. And so Caleb packs up his bow, and to the top of the trail, the very top of it, was probably another 200 yards. And so we get to the top, and we stop, make sure we can still see the bear. Bear's still feeding and everything. And so we made sure it was calm, made sure our wind was good. The wind was blowing straight from that bear into our faces. So, I mean, setup was money. And we got about 60, 70 yards above the bear on the hill, and just side-hilled the rest of the way. And we got to where the bear was, and the route that we took, it took the bear out of our view, so we couldn't see it for a minute. We got there, and we can't see the bear at all. We're like, we should be able to see the bear right now. So we sit there for probably like 5 minutes, and, we're breathing heavy. We just hoofed it on a super, super steep hill. And we look back to where we were sitting, and that bear's no more than 100 yards from where we were. And we look at each other, and we both just like gave each other that look of like, wow, that's how it works, And so we hoofed it right back across the mountain, back to where we were. And I mean, it's only 500 yards. It's not super far, but as thick and as steep as this hillside we were on, 500 yards felt like a freaking mile on flat land. And so we get over there, and we get to the very top of the trail, and I range the bear, and it's 132 yards. And I was like, okay, perfect. He's feeding up the hill. We walk another 15, 20 yards to our west, so the right of us, and we'll be right above that bear. He'll come right out in front of us. And so we get over there, and it was the spot that the bear was at was so thick at that point, like we could not see it at all. We could hear the bear sniffing. We were within 40 yards of that bear for, I want to say, like 25 minutes, and just could hear it. Like you could hear him grazing, sniffing, and everything, and but it was so thick we couldn't see him. And we just sat there. We were like, well, I guess we just have to wait until the bear walks out. And we decided we were going to walk back up the hill just a little bit. And we walk back up the hill, and as soon as we get there, that bear fed right out of the trees onto the open hillside. I was like, oh, this is money. And we were on a hiking trail, and that bear was 40 yards off the trail and just sitting there, and a second bear walks out behind it. And we were like, oh my gosh, there's two bears. And the first one was not a big bear by any means, yearling boar. Super pretty bear. He had a completely black face, and the wind was blowing, still straight into our faces. They couldn't smell us or anything. And so we just watched him for a minute at 40. And the spot they were at, people are probably going to be like, oh, well, why didn't you shoot him right there? The spot they were at, their vitals were covered. And they were just munching on grass, and so we sat there. And those bears started working their way across the hill. And one of the bigger of the two bears came into an opening. Caleb was like, stop it. And so I just, I didn't know what. That was my first bear hunt. So I just, try the old Henry Ferguson buck call, but for bears, just, hey, bear. But I just kind of did, if anybody's ever coyote hunted that's listening, you'd try kissing in coyotes if they're within 100, 150 yards. So I just tried to do a little kiss thing, and that bear looked at me, and I was like, oh, did I just screw this? And it just kept walking, did not care at all. And he walked probably 15, 20 yards, and his vitals are still covered. And at this point, the bears, they're 60, 65 yards, and Caleb started, just kind of sneaking his way down, and the bears got to a point where they were feeding we basically walked into 30 yards. Like, I would not even call it a stalk. Those bears did not care that we were there. We walked into 30 yards. And Caleb ranged it. I started recording, and the smaller of the two bears was about probably 50 yards up the hill. And that the bear that Caleb shot, he ranged at 29 yards, and I was about 10 yards behind him. And bears just grazing. And it was probably solid 3.5 minutes of video, just of the whole entire, from when Caleb drew to when that bear was finally dead. And Caleb drawed back. That bear took, like 2-3 steps out from behind this bush where you could see his vitals, and Caleb just pinwheels it.
Nice.
And that bear the bear did not death moan. A lot of bears, when they get hit with a bow, they'll do a death moan once they lay down, and that bear growled when that arrow hit him, and it was super loud. Scared the crap out of me. I just had a camera, so I was like, "Oh, don't eat me."
Did you guys have a sidearm at all or anything?
That time we only had bear spray, and I had the bear spray. So if it would have went into Caleb, he would have been screwed because he was in front of me. And
sorry, Caleb.
Yeah, pretty much. And every other hunt from then on, we both carried 10 millimeters on us because there were some giant brown bears in Alaska. But that bear took off into a little patch of sapling birch trees and laid down in there. It was more of a jump into there, really, and then started rolling down the hill, and it got about halfway down the hill and stopped. It hung up on a bush, and I was super, super happy because it would have sucked to pack that bear out from the bottom. And I mean, it already sucked when we did pack it out, but I got super cool video, so I was super stoked about that, super happy for Caleb. And then I want to say I was there for another 7 days, I think. We saw one more bear the whole entire trip, and it was actually that little bear that we had seen the first time. And I mean, it was a legal bear. So we saw it in it same spot that Caleb had killed his bear, maybe another 200 yards further down the hill. And Caleb and I talked for a minute, and I was like, I spent all of the money on that trip for the tag, minus $50 was I spent, and I was like, I'm only 17. That's a lot of money for me. It ended up costing me $650, and I'm lucky because I don't have to pay room and board up there because I could just crash at Caleb's. But I was like, my goal is to leave with a bear on this trip, and we got to 107 of that bear. Caleb ranged, he said 107, and I'm confident shooting out on a bear. I would shoot out to 80 yards, and granted, I would love to get closer than that. I would much rather take a 20-yard shot than a 60 or 70-yard shot, and so I was like, if we can get to 70, 75, I'll shoot it. And so we walked another maybe 2 feet. Bear couldn't see us, and I felt a big old gust of wind at my back, and that bear looked right at us and with no hesitation just took off barreling through the trees. And it was like one of those things, your heart just sinks down into your stomach. And I was super bummed. I was like, there's a lot of bears in Alaska. Chances are I'm probably going to get another chance at a bear. But I was bummed because it did not work out at all like Caleb's bear. And so I was bummed, but I mean, it was a super good learning experience. The whole trip was phenomenal. We sat bait after that, and I think it was just a little too early. My trip was just a little too early. If I would have gone a week later, Caleb sends me pictures every single day and just kind of taunts me because there are so many bears hitting the bait now, and I just planned my trip just week or two early, and just look at the draw.
What are you gonna do? You plan it a week later, and the week before, you'll be getting pictures from him.
Exactly.
It's how it always seems to be. It's like it's always grass is always greener. The week before.
Hindsight is 20/20.
But no, man, bear hunting, especially an Alaskan bear hunt, black bears, I've always thought are really cool, but like my dream hunt is an Alaskan brown bear hunt.
That'd
like
be so sweet.
It's like it's also terrifying to me. Like the thought that I would whatsoever consider doing that, you know. But man, that's the dream hunt with my bow right there. But yeah, I really want to. I really would like to get a black bear this year. It's one of the bummers about California. We have no spring bear season. I did a little bit. I went out once with a buddy of mine, Jace. He lives about half an hour from me, and he's got a couple of bear spots, and we went and checked him out, and didn't really see anything. And the weather, it was right after a lot of the Southern California fires, and so where we were hunting, all the smoke had blown in, and it had mostly cleared out everywhere else, but it had like settled in these canyons. So we did some glassing, and then we go and we're like trying to glass this one canyon, and all the smoke had just settled right in there, so you couldn't see crap. And we're like, well, okay, darn. But the wind was blowing, so like it'll clear out. The next day, giant fog rolls in all day long, and it starts raining, and we're just like miserable in the rain, and so like, and I think we're gonna call this weekend hunt.
Yeah.
I think that was right before Thanksgiving that we did that. Like, I think the next day may have been Thanksgiving or something like that. But I don't know, man. Something about hunting bears to me is just like the ultimate thing for me.
It's so like I last year when I went up to Alaska, we didn't see any brown bears. I saw like 8 black bears, but no brown bears. And I said to Caleb when we were sitting there glassing, I was like, honestly, if I only see one animal this whole entire trip, I want it to be a brown bear. And we're sitting there glassing, and he goes, dude, there's a bear on the beach. And I was like, well, let's go kill it, because he didn't say there's a brown bear on the beach.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, oh, there's a black bear on the beach. And he goes, no, it's a brown bear. And I was like, you're joking. And he's like, no, for real. So I looked down on the beach and glassing it, and sure enough, there's a brown bear on the beach, and then another one fed out behind it, and then about probably half an hour later, there was he's probably a 10-foot brown bear, like a giant bear, walked out onto the beach, just big old boar. And, had that giant hump. And you could see when he walked, he kind of was pigeon-toed up front. You could just see his whole body shake. And we were glassing him from like a mile and a half away, and he still looked giant.
Oh, man. I don't know. There's something about hunting something that can easily hunt you back.
Oh, my gosh. So easy.
Oh, man.
Dude, bears are... going into the hunt, I was kind of like, okay, a bear can kill you, so you need to... prepare yourself so if you get into a sticky situation, you can defend yourself. And then, like I was telling you earlier, when we were cleaning out the skull of Caleb's bear, the jaw muscle, when we were cutting that off, was so incredibly thick for even a smaller black bear.
Yeah.
The bear Caleb killed wasn't giant, awesome first bear, especially with a bow. But I mean, that just like made me realize how much power those animals actually have.
Yeah.
So you imagine that on a 1,000-pound brown bear, you literally quadruple the size of that black bear. It's unreal.
It's hard to, unless you actually like come across one, like it's even hard to picture an animal that, like that powerful, that massive. It's whatever. You can think about an elephant you saw at the zoo, but it's different. It's different. Yeah. One of these days I'll get a bear under my belt, and that'll and then I'll just want another bigger one. Me and you both. I know. I had on the podcast Doug Bowes. He has a book, The Ultimate Guide to Black Bear Hunting. If you've never read it, it is super good. I mean, you can pick it up on Amazon, wherever, but it is it's like the handbook for black bears. And he talks a lot too about he's a big advocate of predator calling for bears, like you were doing the like for the coyote calling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing. He'll take his predator calls out with him, and he will uses that to bring bears in those last few yards. Like he's had bears sneak in on him all the time. Like turned around, gets real surprised by a few. But yeah, man, you want to get him bearing close. That's definitely a way to do it without bait for sure.
Yeah.
So you do visit Caleb up in Alaska often?
Yeah.
How often are you up there?
I go once a year. This is my second year. And then next year I'm gonna go again, but it's gonna be a lot longer trip, which I'm super excited for because I'll have a lot more time to actually kill a bear next year. So I'll be there, during the best part of the season. So my hopes are a lot higher for next year. Yeah, but I mean, Caleb and I grew up together in Western Colorado. We anybody that knows me knows that me and Caleb are super good friends. He's more like a brother than a friend, and so we make trips, and it just gives me an awesome excuse to go to the coolest freaking place on planet Earth.
Yeah. I've very much considered. I'm like, well, if I can get a decent internet connection up there, I can technically live anywhere.
Heck yeah.
Somehow I don't think my office would highly appreciate me, because they'll pay for me to drive down for meetings, whatever, because technically my office is at home now, and anything else is travel for work. And somehow I don't think it would fly if they had to fly me in from Alaska, though. I think an accommodation would have to be made at some point with that, so I don't think I could get away with that. But so tell me about Rocky Mountain Ramblers.
Okay, so that's kind of it's an Instagram page that Caleb and I run, and we've ran it for probably 2 years now. I think we started it right before we went to Total Archery Challenge in 2017. And that's basically, it's like a mutual page for me and Caleb. And we put all of our hunting travel pictures on there. And we've tried to get more into, try to make a little bit of money off it. Started making shirts. And I'm still looking for a good shirt company because I've tried 3 so far, and they're all super iffy. The logo and the design always comes out looking good, but the shirt isn't just the highest quality. And so we've been, it's been a trial and error thing.
Remind me after the fact. I can suggest. I haven't gotten shirts made with them yet, but they've done all my hats, and they're quality company. I know a lot of guys in the industry use them, so remind me after the podcast, and I'll give you their website. But so yeah. So you work here at No Limits Archery. So what's Phil really like? I mean, I've heard about the nose picking. I've heard about the giant profanity-laced sessions where he verbally berates you all.
He kind of, I cry myself to sleep at night. Just kidding. No, Phil's the best boss that anybody could ask for. Everybody that works here at No Limits is phenomenal. I mean, it is one of the best jobs I could have as a 17-year-old kid, especially as much as I love archery, because it gives me an opportunity to be hands-on with literally everything that's archery related. And so I have guys come in with trad bows. We're more a compound based shop, but guys come in with compounds, trad bows, crossbows, and I learn so much, and I really appreciate all the guys that I work with. And I mean, Phil, he's super busy, but he still finds time to inspire and help so many people. He puts on the Alpha Bowhunting Challenge, and if that's something that if you're listening to the podcast, if you haven't done that or looked it up, look up the Alpha Bowhunting Challenge. It is one of the best bow hunting competitions to simulate a hunting situation. and Bo especially, Bo Theory here at the shop. He's like my big brother. He is super kind, caring. He'll show me the ropes, but then if I slack off at all, he's sure to let me know.
Yeah, no, Bo was the one I think that helped me out when I blew up my bow last year. Anybody that's been listening to the podcast since those got released knows that story. If not, feel free to go back and listen to the episode I did with either the Brian Horton and the Fit for the Hunt guys or Aaron and Frank. That is discussed on both episodes. But yeah, also make sure I'll link to it in on the show notes page. But make sure you go check out the episode I did here last year. We talked a lot about alpha bow hunting, the classes, and the competition. I still want to come in. I want to find a time to come in for a weekend and take one of the courses and really sit in. One of these days I'll do it when I'm not. When I have such a thing as free time, but we'll see. So what's you're saying you got a few archery hunts on the docket for this year?
Yeah, so I drew 3 of the 4 tags I applied for in Colorado. I drew the same deer tag I had last year. I killed a pretty good buck on that tag last year, so hoping I can put another good one on the ground this year. I also drew an elk tag in the same unit, and I think I had 4 preference points when I applied for that tag. Not a super hard tag to get, but me and my buddy that I hunted with on that deer hunt last year, we saw the second smallest bull, I guess, that we saw was like a 310 bull, and we saw 4, 5, 3, 30, 340, 350 bulls. And that wasn't even looking for him. And so I was like, okay, I'm going into my senior year of high school. So I was like, this is like really the last archery season that I get to hunt really, really hard before I go, off to college and everything. And so I was like, I'm just gonna cash in my points because we saw a ton of elk. So drew that tag, and then I also drew a bighorn sheep tag. And it's a U tag, so I mean it's not the one that everybody is applying for, hoping for. But I decided in my lifetime I want to get the Super 10 with a bow, preferably before the age of 30. And I mean, have you had Lincoln Tapp on the podcast?
Yeah, he's been on the podcast.
So he. I saw him when I was, 14, 15. I was like, oh, this kid is, like, doing exactly what I want to do. And so I decided I was kind of going to go the easier, cheaper route and apply for a U tag instead of a Ram tag, where I could either spend $60,000 to go to Canada, shoot a stone sheep, or I could pay $250 and shoot a U in Colorado. And so, I mean, those are the 3 tags that I've got, and then I'll probably do over-the-counter archery antelope, too. So my August, September is going to be super, super busy. But I'm feeling good about those hunts, so hopefully I put some stuff on the ground.
No, I'm with you. I'm trying to figure out the order of my season right now. We were talking earlier, I've got my basically guaranteed draw California tags, and I've got Montana, and I'm planning on. I've got offers for both Idaho and Colorado. So I'm like, I got to figure out what I can afford to do time-wise, money-wise, and what order I'm going to do all this in. But I have a good feeling about this year. I think this is going to be my year for an elk finally. I don't care if it's a cow. I don't care if it's a bull. I mean, obviously I'd like a bull, but, it's whatever I end up doing. I have a feeling I'll probably go hit up Idaho and kind of do whatever I see first hunt. Take a cow if I can. I've got to look. I forget if those over-the-counter tags are either sex. I think they are.
I don't know. I don't know Idaho's regulations.
It's been so long since I haven't looked at them, for 2 years. So I'd have to look. But yeah, basically I'll probably do, if that's either sex, I'd probably do that first, go take a cow, whatever I can take there. And then for my Montana tag, be able to go enjoy that, get through archery season on the draw tag I have. And if I don't get anything, then go back out for the rest of the year, just however often I can. And hopefully shoot something with some horns on its head.
Yeah, dude, it's good just to get experience under the belt, get as many kills as you can. I mean, like you take guys like Aaron Snyder, Phil here at the shop, like they've both killed a plethora of animals. And I mean, you hear them tell stories about when they were my age, and they're, they miss animals. There's missed opportunities, but because they kept hunting so hard and just soaking up all the knowledge they could, now they are some of those great sources of knowledge in the industry and they both kill multiple animals a year because, I mean, they're just freaking assassins now.
Yeah. Well, and I've gotten used to having meat in the freezer. Like, right now I'm being kind of stingy with it still because I've got enough to where I can have several good meals left, but I want to get to the point where I'm not really thinking about the meat in the freezer anymore.
Yeah.
Like, where I'm like not worried about that, and I can be a little bit more picky. But I've started really enjoying cooking that wild game, and so I'm kind of like, all right, I got to get something decent in the freezer this year, and then I can play around. But as we're winding down here, say somebody comes into the shop, I'm sure you get this all the time, somebody's like, hey, I was thinking about, I want to get into hunting, whether it's rifle, whether it's bow, whatever it is. I'm thinking about getting into hunting, but I just don't know if I have the background from it. Maybe there's someone like me that's just wasn't raised in it or is from the city, doesn't feel like they have the resources. What would you tell someone like that? What advice or like words of encouragement would you give somebody that feels like it may be beyond their reach?
I would say, if you're like a little nervous, not nervous per se, but you're not sure if you're ready or have the background in it. You have to start somewhere. So if it's something that you want to do, just pick up a book, read about it, DM some guys on Instagram, ask all the questions you can, and don't be afraid to ask questions because, I mean, I've been hunting since I could walk, and I still have so many questions. And so, I mean, it's just ask questions. 99% of the people in the outdoor industry are phenomenal people that are willing to share their knowledge with you. So, I mean, just ask questions and then, go into your local pro shop. Like, if you're in the Denver area, come into No Limits, you have any questions, we can help you answer them. Give us a call. Or if you're not in the Denver area, whatever your local pro shop is, give them a call, go in, ask questions, ask a lot of questions, and then slowly you'll start to build up your knowledge base, and then before you know it, you're gonna have that background, and you're gonna be out, shooting everything under the sun, having a good time.
I'll tell you, if there's one thing hunters love talking about, it's hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, yeah, it can get, like, if you're busy and, you're trying to get stuff done, sometimes too many questions can get overwhelming. But I don't know a lot of people in the hunting industry, or, quote unquote in the hunting industry, that would not, you want to ask them questions about hunting. Obviously, yeah, don't walk and be like, hey, so where should I go shoot an elk?
Yeah.
But, you're asking these general questions about hunting. I don't know anybody that it wouldn't be super stoked to sit down and talk, because it's like, okay, what do we talk about when we're not on the podcast? What do we talk about when people aren't asking us questions? Oh, we're talking about hunting.
Exactly.
Anyway, like,
exactly.
It's the conversations we'd be having anyway, so might as well have one that helps someone out. So,
yeah.
All right, if people want to find you find Rocky Mountain Ramblers, where are they looking?
Go on to Instagram. My personal page is Justus. It's spelled JUSTUS _ Neilsen. That's my personal page. And then the Rocky Mountain Ramblers page is rm.ramblers. Go ahead, follow both of those pages, and we'll give you a follow back, and hopefully there's some interaction there.
There we go. I'll make sure to link to those. They can go see Caleb's black bear.
Yep.
And I have no idea when this one will be coming out, but I'll let you know.
Sounds good.
Thanks for hopping on, man.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, y'all, that'll do it for episode 107 of Living Country in the City. Big thanks to Justus for hopping on. It was great to sit down and chat with him. Y'all make sure you head on over to livingcountryinthecity.com/107 to check out the show notes page and links to everything we talked about in today's episode. Make sure y'all check out Sawyer.com/Lyme-disease to protect your family from Lyme disease and ticks this summer. As well, head on over to livingcountryinthecity.com/support. Check out all the different ways that you can be part of the Living Country in the City family, and also ways that you can win some incredible rewards, especially as Living Country in the City is rebranding to the Wild Initiative. But in the meantime, keep it country, y'all.
Thank y'all for listening to Living Country in the City. Get show notes and check out the blog, product reviews, events, and more at livingcountryinthecity.com.